Hi, welcome to the latest in these video talks on Irish ancestors, Irish records. Today I'm going to be talking about 18th century census substitutes. There are a lot of them, so I'm only going to, this is part one. Again, I'm going to use the website, my own website, johngwenham.com, Irish ancestors, as a jumping off point. And virtually everything I say, or at least all the references I talk about, are available there for free. So let's go to the website now. Right, here we are at the lovely new front page. This is a view across Sligo Bay from the top of Ben Bulben, looking into the magic land of Mayo, who are going to win this year's All-Ireland. Anyway, browse, records, census, and we look at 18th and 19th century. So this is, again, it's part of an expanded version of Tracing Our Irish Ancestors, the 5th edition. And this is a subsection of the chapter on censuses. Because of what happened in 1922, I'll keep saying it over and over again, and these fragments, these census substitutes, are much more important in Irish research than they are for any other country. So let's go through the first part of them. First of all, the convert rolls. Okay, these are records, basically records of people who converted to the Church of Ireland. Church of Ireland was the established church. It was the state church, in effect. The English don't like to go on about being a theocracy, but they are, and the Church of England and the Church of Ireland are part of the apparatus of state administration. And the people who weren't members of the church were very heavily discriminated against in the 18th century. You've probably heard of the penal laws if you have Irish ancestors. There were ways of disenfranchising not just Catholics, non-Church of Ireland Protestants as well, so Presbyterians, Baptists, dissenters as they were called. There were various oaths of allegiance that were required. There were, for example, Quakers wouldn't pay tithes. They wouldn't participate in military. They had all sorts of problems, persecutions, and so on and so forth. So it was quite important who was a member of the Church of Ireland. That's the point I'm trying to make in this very roundabout way. And it was important to record who had become a member. Okay, so in order to avoid all the restrictions on property rights and voting rights and whether or not you could become a barrister or join the army and so on, people frequently chose to convert. Mainly middle classes, Catholic aristocracy, people with something to lose, in other words. And very often they picked one member of the family who would do the token conversion for everybody else. And you can imagine that didn't create joy and equanimity in the family. But that's the way it was. Okay, there are records of these. There were 2 volumes published by the late Eileen O'Byrne called The Convert Rolls, and they're available on the Irish Manuscripts Commission website, manuscripts.ie. They're based on 2 sets of records. First, the dates and places of conversions. So 1789 up to 1838, they're formal conversions, full conversions. In the late 1770s, the restrictions began to be lifted a little bit, and the format of the conversion was, you didn't have to make a formal conversion. All you had to do was swear an oath of allegiance to the British monarch. So, the religious element of it was discreetly dropped. Okay, so those are available online at the National Archives website, genealogy.nationalarchives.ie, as part of the Catholic qualification rolls. The one I prefer to use is the version on findmypast.ie because it's much more, much clearer exactly what they are. Okay, there's a very good essay here on the nature of the records, on the difference between the two different kinds of qualification and convert rolls. So it's a plus there are surname variants and so on and so forth. And this is part of the free section of findmypast.ie. Those that, again, in terms of family information, their names, dates, occasionally places. So it's pretty sketchy, put it like that, at its kindest. Okay, most of the other records from the 18th century are also concerned with sectarianism. Basically, they were designed to tell the authorities, or the authorities in the Church of Ireland or the authorities in Dublin Castle, how many of them are there, how many of us are there. So it was, getting ready for the eternal bun fight of Catholic versus Protestant in Ireland. And so there are, in the 1740s, Protestant householders, particularly in areas in the north of the island, in the historic province of Ulster, where there were more or less equal, and in some cases more Protestants than Catholics. So it was a bit more pressing to discover exactly how many more of them are there than us, or how many more of us are there than them. Those, again, they were in the Public Record Office in 1922, and they're all gone. Okay, how many more times can I say that? It goes on and on. The ones that survive are transcripts that people had made. They're searchable in the Public Record Office of Northern Ireland's name search. Okay, we'll accept their cookies. So name search. It's a pretty basic search interface, you can see. It is basically, it lumps together all sorts of different things. So pre-1740 Protestant householders, 1766 and 1775, we come back to those, and you can choose to search all of them or only one of them. There's no surname variants. It's all pretty basic, but it's there. Okay, and again, what you get is a location and a name. In terms of family history, you're talking about circumstantial evidence. But once you get beyond a certain point in Ireland, all family history evidence is circumstantial. The 1749 Elphin diocesan census is something along the same lines. The Diocese of Elphin covers most of County Roscommon, except the parish where my ancestors came from, and parts of Sligo and East Galway. It was ordered by the Church of Ireland Bishop of the diocese. Again, it was householders, religion, sex, numbers of children, numbers of servants. Okay, it's in the National Archives here in Dublin. It was microfilmed by the Mormons, though they don't seem to have the microfilm in the catalogue. The microfilm was withdrawn when it was transcribed and published, and that transcription is what you'll find in Find My Past. So let's see if there were Grenhams in the general area of Roscommon. So Graltons, Graham, Grehan, Green, so on, Grogan, Grissan. Okay, let's look at the original. So Peter Green in Kilglass. And you can see what you're looking at here is actually a printed book. So what they've done on Find My Past is they digitized the published book. Okay, the book attempts to be, you can see the format. So Pat, trainer and wife, papists, professionist, that tentacular, that's farmer. Two papists under two, no Protestants, and so on. So, okay, I don't think there's a single Protestant on the page here. You can, oh, there we are. Samuel Griffin, the parish minister, and Robert Onions. So basically the Church of Ireland administration. The point I want to make is that this is a transcript. And at one particular point when I was looking for the areas close to where my ancestors were from for any names like the names in my family, I suspected there were problems with the transcript, went to the microfilm, which was still then available in the National Archives, and found mistranscriptions all over the place. So anything that's a bit weird, any surnames that you're not familiar with, I can see Gibbelon. There, be wary. If you have a chance at all to go to the microfilm of the original, do it. Okay. What's online is a digitization of a transcript. The digitization is fine. The transcription isn't. There we go. Okay, the 1766 religious survey. The instructions came from the government to the Church of Ireland, and Church of Ireland rectors were asked to compile the returns of all households in their parishes, showing their religion and giving an account of any Catholic clergy active in their area. Again, another sectarian headcount. Okay, it was a very badly designed. The instructions were ambiguous. It wasn't clear whether they were supposed to collect names or just numbers. And in most cases, they did collect the names of the head of household at least. But in lots of cases, only numerical totals. In any case, they were all destroyed in 1922. And what we have left are transcripts that people had made as working copies. The vast majority of them are anything that is online via the Prony name search that we saw earlier on. So here you see the 1766 religious census. Let us put in the ever popular Murphy and see what comes up. Okay, you can see Rathdrum, Dunganstown, O'Hochill. Let's go to the last. There's 196 of them. Derry Lorne. The majority of them are for census returns that come from areas in Northern Ireland, obviously, given that this is the Public Record Office of Northern Ireland. But there is also, you can see Carlingford in County Louth, just across the border. There are Ahaloo, Carlingford, Cregan, RD, also in County Louth, just up the road from me here in Dublin, Termon Feckin in County Louth. So, what is and isn't online is given in the source lists. So free, county by county. And then, for example, let me show you, if I pick civil parish map, I go into Louth, I go into RD, and we get to the census records and 1766 diocesan census, and there's a link there to the Prony transcript. It's online. So the 1766. The point is that, as I said at the outset, these census substitutes are very fragmented. Lots of them are just for one or two censuses. Some of them are for parts of the county and so on. So you need to dig down deep. As I say, it's free by county here, and in the paying section, it goes to the parish level. Okay, dissenters' petitions. Again, a series of petitions, again, to do with the penal laws, with the disenfranchisement, the property restrictions, the civil rights restrictions. There were petitions sent to the Irish Parliament at an act that excluded dissenters from voting at vestry meetings of the Church of Ireland. Okay, so it's petitions to the Parliament, the vast majority of them from the northeast, from what's now part of Northern Ireland. Again, Prony, the search. Okay, the Prony search thing. Let me just go back and show you how. There we go. The name search, and you can see here you have the 1775 dissenters. We won't have so many Murphys there. We might have a few Smiths. Yes, you can see there's plenty of Smiths there. Again, you get a location if you're lucky. Otherwise, just a name. As I say, at this stage, virtually all of the evidence is circumstantial. The last thing I'm going to talk about today are the official papers, petitions. And the official papers were the records of the administration in Dublin Castle. So the office of the Chief Secretary to the Lord Lieutenant of Ireland, the Chief Secretary's office. The Chief Secretary was in effect the the main administrator, the president of Ireland, or whatever if you want to call him that. He was the one who ran the administration. And the papers, what's of interest at least amongst the papers, are the correspondence coming in and going out. One of the main ways of conducting businesses, as we've seen with the dissenters, is to petition the administration for something. So if you can produce evidence that 500 people in Ballina want the bridge repaired, that's a good, incentive for the chief secretary to direct some funds towards repairing the bridge in Ballina. There are extraordinarily hit and miss. Well, there are large numbers of these petitions. Again, you'll find them county by county, civil parish by civil parish. The main website, which is very interesting in itself, these are the registered papers of the Chief Secretary's office, part of the National Archives of Ireland. You can search the catalogue. It's not an absolute full transcript, but it's a pretty good indication of what exists and what doesn't exist. All right, it's more detailed than what I've done. Okay, with that, I think I'm going to draw a veil over the rest of the 18th century. We'll move on to it in the next talk. I think that one of the main points I wanted to get across is that what you're dealing with here are fragments, and what you're dealing with are circumstantial pieces of evidence that can be very difficult to knit together, but there are specific circumstances where they can be very useful. So you do have to know about them. Tough. Anyway, I wish you the best of luck. I wish you good hunting, and thanks for watching.